Hey guys, second video in the short, very short series of a customer's Crf450L build. This is as far as I am taking it. When you build custom bikes, a lot of the times all you do is you do the work that the customer can't do. And if you have local bike shops around, don't be afraid to ask them if they can help you out on the stuff you're having difficulty with. So what all did I do? I got the tower done, redid the wiring up front, wired in all the accessories, mounted for the first time the Scorpion rear rack, and generally just cleaned a few things up and got it going. So starting from the back, let's go forward. So starting for the back, this is the Scorpion plate he sent. He trusts me with his brand new fender. Crazy guy. So here you go. The guy who originally had this bike bought this rack, didn't want to cut holes in his fenders, so this was flopping around like a limp, you know what. I put in I built the standoffs on my lathe there, and just a simple standoff. I used the base as the subframe as my diameter, so these are actually the same diameter as the subframe, so that way it's got a nice solid feel to it. The only thing I did, I looked at the instructions and they want you to just run really short bolts, so what I did was the bolts actually holding the subframe on, or sorry, the inner fender on, were a 10 mil. So what I did was I ran a shorter bolt with a washer, blue Loctite, and that gave me the room to run, have a good 15 mil or 15-20 mil of thread into the same boss, but from the other side. Both bolts bottom out on their standoffs instead of on each other, so there is at least a hair's gap in between them. He's got the seat and everything. These are just his leftover parts. The Vortex, the reason I had the Vortex out is I wanted to show you guys the numbers I run with the Yoshi pipe. So your mileage may vary depending on where you live and what kind of riding you do. So this one, we're on map 4. The numbers are 4, 5, and 6. So 4 is actually 2.5% leaner than what that map shows. The reason is that it gives you a really nice snap off the bottom end. You come out of this one pretty quick into that one. That one is the standard, 2.5% richer than stock. I'm not sure what the timing does. And then this one is a little bit more rich than stock. If you're going to be running higher altitudes, or different altitudes than we are, you're going to want to change these and just pay attention. Remember, these are adjusted just like jets. So don't be afraid to play with them. You're not really going to hurt anything if you don't go too radical. And you know, tuning will get it to where it's best for you. Did a valve adjust on the bike. The customer did the Champion, I think I mentioned that, did the Champion Delete. He also did the rad guards. We're an Emperor racing dealer, so he's got the Emperor guards. The lower guard, the previous owner just had flopping around, so that's all fixed now. And then we come up to this guy. So the tower itself, it's really hard to see in the video, but the bolts are in there. And I didn't run this guard, he said, or this guide. He says to run it. I find that they don't move at all. So the one thing I changed, it looks like it's getting in the way, but actually it hits there, and this is still free. So, oops, you get a good view of my hand. So that's, the reason I did that is now you can undo this one connector. This is the trigger wire and the positive and negative for the, the white is the trigger wire and the red and the black are the positive and negative for the tower. The trigger wire comes up and runs a relay that's sitting in here so you don't see it. So that turns this guy on and off, your main switch on and off, main power, on and off. I just used a 2-layer heat shrink here to cover up this bolt. Give it a good yank and it'll come right off. The fuses, right now I'm out of low amp fuses, but basically these should be 3 all around. So that way 3, 6, 9, we're under the 10 amps that is showing at the back. So that way if you have a problem here, it will blow here instead of at the battery. That's pretty important when you're trying to diagnose things, where if you've got two fuses in the line, you always want to, the one closest to the unit, whatever you're fusing, you want it to be for the rating of that particular unit. So like this one is a 3, the Garmin takes, it has a max draw of 1.5, so it's going to use the 3. What I did here was this light, because the whole tower comes on and off with the key, this light is actually for the Baja Designs squadron. And this is the heated grips control, and then of course you've got your Zumo XT control. I can put the Zumo XT back on so you can see, but trust me, it comes on and off with the key. These guys are pretty cool, the Koso heated grips, because it gives you a visible check saying that yes, if all those lights go out, everything's good, and then you can, you know, turn it on from there. Okay, it doesn't like to be on right now because the bike isn't running. It's got a voltage sense in it, and because I've been playing with it, the battery is, well, it shows 13 volts, should be okay. You notice that this power port is red, and any of you who have a Rebel X kit, yours is black. The reason is that first time I plugged it in, no display whatsoever. Checked my wiring, everything was fine, no blown fuses. Plugged this one in, and one that I had on the shelf for a different bike. This one works just fine. So we're going to keep that one on the bike. I think the little touch of red looks nice anyway. So how this works is with this off, you flip it on to high beam, and no lights, no nothing, and on the dash other than regular high beam, and we've got just the factory lights going. If we hit that guy, so now the red button is lit up. We have the Squadron Pro working on high beam, and then switch to low beam and the Squadron turns off. That's the way I like to wire these things, because if you're in town or if you're going down the road and you're not off-road and you don't want to blind the person coming at you, you can turn the high beam off and leave it off. So, or the Squadron off and leave it off. So that's what that button does. It's not super accessible, but it really doesn't need to be. And quite frankly, the way this tower is built, you don't have a lot of spare button room. So it works. The one thing I did is this button comes, there's a bunch of companies that sell them. I get mine to look exactly like that. You've seen them on my rally build, the ones that say "Go Baby Go" on it and "Wear 2." They're the next size up from this one. But whoever put this button together soldered everything, and they didn't heat shrink over the connector itself. So what I had to do is I had to pull it apart, desolder it. It was just surface solder. Okay. First off, surface soldering is just fine. There's nothing wrong with surface soldering. It creates, when you solder it, it creates a mechanical connection between the two electronic points. Surface soldering is fine. The solder joints were nice and shiny, so whoever did the soldering knew what they were doing. No problem. But what I did was, the way it's done is that there's two connectors that are shorted out together, that run together. That is the output. And the reason they have it that way is so it turns the light on and off. What I did was I stripped the sheathing back a bit, put some heat shrink onto each individual wire, soldered it back together, and then heat shrunk it back together. So now there's no way the connections can short out. The way it was for saving space, it's soldered on instead of the ones that I use, which have the clip-on connectors, so you can just replace them. I had a lot of room, not a lot of room in here. So I agree with what was done. It just, in the future, I would like to see the heat shrink on there. So that's about it for this guy. That's my little rant anyway. Review compared to, I guess if you guys want, email me, message me on Facebook, or message me on YouTube, and we will get this and the MST bike together, and I can go through the pluses and minuses if you're interested in either the MST or the Rebel X. I don't represent either, so I don't sell either. This was bought direct. He asked me if he wanted me to get it for him, and I'm like, no, you deal with the guys direct. I'm not going to sell enough of them, so it's like, I don't need to take a piece of his pie for no particular reason. So, but quick review, this is decently put together. It's heavier than the MST tower, which really surprised me considering the MST tower has an oil cooler mount on it. But overall, it's pretty well built. It was missing a few bolts, like these were actually missing. So now it's got, I've got the coated bolts and stainless steel nuts with some anti-seize in there, so they can come apart. But so I did that. I did a common ground point here, which he doesn't really give you any place to ground. He's like, you figure it out. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll figure it out. So that's in there with a nylock nut. If you need to add a ground, you don't really have to undo it if you don't want. There's enough you can pull off of and just solder into. He gave me the connectors here are that come with the kit are your regular blue crimp connectors. They're fine. What I did was I did an uncoated crimp, which is a much better crimp, and double crimped it and then heat shrink using heat shrink with the glue on the heat shrink, so that way it's nicely protected as much as it can. This guy is the fused output, so it's actually a dead terminal. I'm not crazy about the positives sitting out there. Oh, I got keys on, we'll just turn that off. But for that little fuse box, not bad. It's splash proof. Let's see, Squadron Pro is always good. These lights are amazing. That's because I sell them. No, they're just cheap little guys. They're just $30 signal lights. They work. Overall, not impressed, not unimpressed with the Rebel X. It is what it is. It fit fairly nicely. Things like I would like to see a little bit more width in here, so you can put more of the connections in there without piling everything on top of each other. Another thing I would like to see is 2 bolts here, and then these wings can come off. So that way, if you have one of these wings bolt on and the other one not, you can replace your headlight without having to take the whole freaking tower off or bend these out of the way. So that would be I'm sure I'm not the only one that's ever told him about that. So I bet you he comes out with a 2nd generation eventually, and away we go. I don't know how these have been selling for him. So for Rebel X, if they've been a good seller, I'm sure he'll keep developing. If not, why waste the money if like 10 guys in the world buy these things? So I was able to do it. So this is completely open. The owner can put whatever they want in there. That one zip tie is loose because it just holds the main power relay from bouncing around. I could tighten it up, but I'd rather leave it that way, and just so after a few off-road miles, it'll find its place, and then you can tighten it up. Let's see, the main wiring is all tied up. He's got these 2 crossbars, which make a really nice place to run your wiring, because there is space between this plate and these bars, so you can actually fit the wiring. You can actually fit the wiring up and over these, and it keeps things out of the way. It gives you as much room as possible. If I was to do this again, I would actually relocate the heated grips back to the bars. It would create a lot more room. If you ever look at the Coso kit, it's got a pretty heavy connector in there. I don't know why. It only pulls a max of 4 amps, so it's not like it pulls a lot of amperage, but the connector is huge. Everything is heat shrunk, so it's waterproof because it's made for a snow bike. For those of you in Europe that if you haven't seen one, just type in snow bike and you'll be like, oh my god. Anyways, so these heated grips are really nice. They're a road racing waffle. They're small. They're no bigger than a regular grip. Great working grips, but if I was to do it again, I think what I would do is actually drill this guy and tap it and have a little bracket right there, or even just putting it right up on the bar would do. It would just offer more flexibility. Actually, there's even room underneath here for it with some sticky tape. So that's about it. Thanks for watching. Wow, 15 minutes already. Jeez. I yak a lot. Thanks for watching. We're going to get into some new projects. I've got another channel coming up here fairly soon that's going to be coming online. Watch for that. I'll make an announcement about that. Thanks for watching. Enjoyed having, I can't believe I've had like over 480 subscribers. That just blows me away. I know it's nothing compared to John Young or any of those guys, but thank you so much for subscribing and watching. I appreciate it. That's about it, and I'll see you on the trails.